And here he is. Jamie, great to see you. You know, I saw you this week over in by the football office, and I wonder what was going on over there. It was good to see you, man. How's it going?
It was good to see you, Dennis. It was a long time. And you know what? It's always good to see old friends and everything like that. But, just trying to sneak in and get a little peeky, see at what's going on down at football. You hear some things and, it, look, former players are allowed at practice. And, I try to keep myself up to speed on who's doing what. And I try not to divulge everything that I saw, but I saw some good football. I did see some good football.
Yeah, well, they're a pretty good team, I would imagine. You look over there and you see a lot of good things when it comes to Michigan. And the Big Ten Network was just in last week, and I took a lot of different things away from what those guys had to say. But the one thing that I was looking forward to the most, you asked that question, you're looking forward to everything, but the number one thing was I wanted to see Blake Corum look like the old Blake Corum. And I heard Jake Butt was encouraged from what he saw, a guy that had a bunch of knee surgeries. And I heard Jim Harbaugh say he looked bigger, stronger, and faster. So, I mean, that was all good news talking about number two for the Wolverines. How about that?
I was encouraged from what I saw. I was very encouraged from what I saw. Looked like a bigger, stronger Blake Corum. Did not have anything around his knee or anything that I could see. So seems like he's not wearing a brace or anything, but seems like he's getting around nice. He's getting around real good. So, I mean, it's encouraging to see him like that.
If you were Sharon Moore, first-year offensive coordinator, and you know what Michigan has done the last 2 years, the success they've had, and a lot of it has to do with running the ball. Are you just keep doing what's working? You're changing things up a little bit, kind of put your stamp on it. If you're the guy calling the plays now, how would you go about that?
Well, I know that Sharon knows what they can do. Michigan's proved what they can do. They can, and what I call it bully ball. They just take the ball and they just jam it down. We're coming this way and see if you can stop us. But now, when you have a 5-star quarterback, and he won 13 straight games for you last year. He did what you asked him to do. It's time to let him showcase what he has too. And these receivers, I mean, you lost your leading receiver, but you got some guys, Roman Wilson, who everybody talks about. He looks like a beast in the weight room now. You got Cornelius Johnson, who after that Ohio State game has all the confidence in the world. You got some young Tyler Morris, who him and JJ have a synergy. When you hear JJ speak, I mean, look, you got some guys that can go get the ball. And from what I saw, everybody talks about Michigan can't stretch the field. Oh, they can stretch the field. You best believe they can stretch the field. And these young men are ready to show what they can do.
So they were stretching it a little bit. That's nice to hear. Now, it's weird because we're fast forwarding all the way to the end of the season. Like, why would Michigan want to change anything up when the bully ball works so well to win the Big Ten twice and everything else? But people say, well, what about when you get to the college football playoff? And if you have to go up against Georgia, and we know to beat Georgia, are you going to be able to bully Georgia or Alabama or whoever else would be over there that you play? So working on some things along the way to get there. But it seems like they've embraced that because they know that the kind of team that they have. And so it's no like, hey, we got a disrespect card. They're thinking about, even though they have to think about September the 2nd and all the other games, we know that, but they are thinking about somewhere in the back of their mind that, they also want to be able to feature some other things if they do get back to where they want to be.
Well, you got to remember what happened at Indiana. Indiana, you don't want it to ever happen the way it happened. Mike Hart having that terrible lapse and falling down and having a convulsion, and it just took Donovan and Blake out of that game completely, which they couldn't run the ball. If you think about it, they couldn't run the ball because their running backs were freaking out because their position coach was they weren't sure what was happening to their position coach. Well, if you remember, they gave the ball to JJ that day, and JJ had his first 300-yard game, if you think about that. So did they give the keys to JJ? Yeah, and he drove it pretty good that day. So all I'm saying to you is you're going to need the passing game as much as you're going to need the running game this year, because everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody's figured it out. Everybody thinks they've figured it out. They're going to come up on the line of scrimmage and stop the run. That's what they're going to try to do. If you watch the TCU game, that's what TCU did. They did a lot of zone run blitzes to stop the run. And it kind of stymied us a little bit. But then all of a sudden, JJ woke up and he was airing it out to Roman Wilson. He was airing it out to everybody. I mean, he did some things, and yeah, he made some mistakes. But you know what? You live and learn from those mistakes. And I think if they take the idea, and I'm not crazy. You don't want to go 50-50. Sure. I'm going, if we can go 45-55, Dennis, I mean, you got to take what the defense gives you eventually. And if they're gonna load up on that line of scrimmage, 8 men, 9 men in the box, why not go over the top and take advantage of what you have? You have a guy with a live arm, and you have some guys that are hungry to go get the ball.
Yeah, why not? And, JJ got better as the year went along.
Mm-hmm.
I think about Ohio State, and then, he's put on some weight. He's more confident. He should be. And if he was able to put the ball on Roman Wilson a couple times last year, I don't think we'd be talking about right. Michigan doesn't have this dangerous downfield passing game. I wanted to ask you about Mike Hart. Is Mike Hart, when I see him and when I hear him talking as a coach, he seems like like for the fans, he's got a big smile, $1 million smile and everything, but he seems like a real no-nonsense coach, especially when he's talking about our guys are going to block. They better do all these different things. And I wanted to ask you specifically about Donovan Edwards, who I think is a great back. He's even we saw that he was a great back. But, Edwards said that last week that he'll be up there with Walter Payton and Barry Sanders when it's done. One of the greatest backs to ever play the game. Now, you hear that, and you might not like it if you're a Michigan fan. Say, no, I like a little bit more of modesty. But the cat's out of the bag there. Donovan said it. How do you think Mike Hart and Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, how are you going to deal with Donovan Edwards, who kind of came out like Ali, saying, hey, I'm the greatest?
Well, I'm just going to say this. When we were down and out and we didn't have Blake Corum to run behind, to have him run behind that offensive line, Dono came out. Dono showed that he deserves to play a lot more. Dono showed he went to the biggest game of the season and delivered. So I'm just going to say this. Look, I told myself I was the best running back in the country many a times. I may not have said it to general public and let them know, but you always tell yourself you're the best. You always want everybody. You want to have that confidence. You need to have that confidence. And you got the biggest offensive line, the best offensive line in the country. Come on. If Dono's running behind that, and look, I still think that Dono, you put them both together, have them both on the field. And I listened to what he said in his interview. He is 100% correct. Who are you gonna stop running? I mean, you can do many things, multiple things with these two backs. Now, if you don't, think about the Illinois game. Dono couldn't play because he was beat up a little bit. Okay, he didn't even play in the Illinois game, and Blake got hurt in the Illinois game. We didn't have either one in the game. We got lucky to win that game. Gash made a great catch. Jake Moody came in and did his job, but I'm just saying this is why you're looking to go 50-50, 45-55, because you're beating your players up when you're playing that kind of football. Look, it works. We know it works, but understand we have two great backs that can be the mule plowing the field. But you know what? Here's the thing. We need to have them all season long, not just for one game, 2 games. We need them for all season. And when you listen to Coach Harbaugh, you listen to Sharon Moore, they're trying to think about things. Hey, we're going to take what the defense gives us. We're going to take advantage of. We're not just going to run you over. We're going to throw over you sometimes too. So I applaud them for even talking about it. But you know what? Michigan does what they do best. You know it as well as I do. If you get in the way, they'll train you over if they have to. And you could see it at Big Ten Media Day for all those coaches. They all came out talking about how big their defensive line is, their offensive line is, and everything like that. Yeah, you better catch up. You're talking about catching up with Michigan now.
I love it. Jamie Morris, just for a couple more minutes. CJ Stokes, I don't know if he got in a doghouse last year, if he was putting it on the ground in practice. We know he did in the one game, then we didn't see much of him. So people want to know about that third back, Khalil Mullings, CJ Stokes, and the two freshmen. You've had a chance to look at these guys a little bit. I mean, Hall was, I would say, great for a spring game, but okay, we know it was a spring game, but he was great in the spring game. Apparently Cabana, it might be as fast as Roman Wilson. So there's a lot of, in Mullings, I did hear Jim Harbaugh say, he could be there on kick returns. So, a big guy like that. So they got a loaded room. What your impressions? Anybody stand out? A couple reps that you probably were taking a look at. I'm sure you're eyeballing 23 a little bit.
Well, sure. CJ looked really good. He looks healthier. He looks stronger. Let's just say you need a year. You need to get a year in under the strength coach. I think Ben has done a great job with CJ. I think CJ will now receive some hits that won't affect him now. He'll be ready now. He's got his body ready. I think Benjamin Hall is a great Benjamin Hall is a great running back. Great. He has natural instincts. When he gets under the Mike Hart plan, I think he'll be even better. Cole Cabana. Look, when that young man is running, you better go get him, because he'll leave you in the dust. And Mike's got a lot of choices to go with, and that's a good thing. Having a full room of running backs is a good thing, because you never know when you don't have enough, because that's happened to us too. People don't remember that, but it's happened to us. It happened to us last year. I mean, CJ was getting beat up against Illinois. He was getting knocked around and doing different things, and he came out the game. You had to put Gash in, and he's playing hard. They're all making play, but they made the right play. But I'm just saying, you didn't have your two big dogs in there, but we still were able to win the game with the backs that we have. Now we've got backs on top of backs now that are ready to play.
All right, I got two quick ones for you. Harbaugh was there on Tuesday, and he talked about a lot of dignitaries, like yourself included, that have been coming through, and whether it's talking to the team or on the sideline watching practice. And he didn't mention who said it to him, but he said, it was a real vibe, like with this team and with what's going on. Like, vibe is a subjective thing. You go in somewhere. I know sometimes, like, I go into, back in the day, not so much anymore, I go into a bar. I'm like, hey, this has got a really good vibe to it. Yeah. So I don't know, Jamie, did you feel the vibe yourself when you were over there watching these guys?
I gotta be honest with you, Dennis. I'm an old school type of guy. I think nobody practiced as hard as we did when Bo was here and everything like that. But I'm gonna say this: I went to a spring practice also, just one spring practice. I came away so impressed. I thought they worked as hard as us, if not harder than us, the way they conducted themselves. And you got music blasting, you got all kinds of stuff going on. And the way they practiced, it was incredible. Same thing. I still say the same thing. The practice that I went to, I attended, I saw some great players demonstrating concentration, always working hard. They tried to stay off the ground, keep the players up off the ground, not trying to tackle or anything, but a good thud. Give each other a good thud, and then keep running. Don't touch the quarterbacks. But you know what? It was a good practice. It turned out to be a wonderful practice, and they got after one another. So you got to be. They keep doing. They're piling them up. They're piling good practices up. You got to be impressed with these young men. The thing about it is, and it rings true in their ears. Everybody thinks it's arrogant and everything. Like, no, they're not done yet, because they haven't accomplished what they set forth for themselves. And that's what you got to believe. They're doing this. It's every man doing his job, and they love one another. That's what you want. When we talk about culture, that right there is the culture that we're talking about.
Yeah, and my final question is, they got a lot of different guys. Probably come up with a half dozen, maybe a dozen guys that you would pick that would maybe be selected captain. And I heard Harbaugh say that, that give a sticker out for the enthusiasm unknown to mankind, and Chris Jenkins got one, and Blake Corum, a freshman tight end as well. Now, back in the day, you're a former Michigan captain. I'm guessing, Jamie, as your personality, people are watching you, listen to you, they know you. You probably would have got one of those stickers yourself. Who else in your era besides yourself do you think would have got an enthusiasm unknown to mankind sticker?
I mean, the coach himself, Jim Harbaugh, would have got one without a doubt, because he was always trying to fire us up. I think when you think offensive lineman, you want to think John Vitale, Bob Tabachino, Clay Miller, tight end Eric Caddis. I mean, Jeff Brown, Derek Walker. I mean, guys like that. Those are the guys. I mean, Jumbo Elliott. He's a quiet assassin. He just went out there just pancaked everybody. I mean, Gerald White from in the backfield, Thomas Wilshire. I mean, I tell people this all the time. Thomas Wilshire, here's how he got me ready as a freshman. So when I got a chance to play as a freshman, he had me knowing the plays and everything like that. So I mean, look, you go back and you talk about, again, we talk about relationships and different things like that. It's incredible to see what this team is doing. It's like these guys you could take that team and take it back to the 1980s, the 1990s, those years that we say when you hear the older guys saying they're pretty good, but they couldn't play in our day.
Yeah, I think that, they play a lot like you guys did back from 84 through 87. Jamie, great enthusiasm as always, continued success. It's always great being able to talk with you. It was great to see you this week, and right around the corner of the season. Thanks for your time.
No problem, Dennis. Good time, and look forward to a great season. And hey, tune in to Dennis. He knows his stuff. Y'all better listen to him.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Jamie. We'll talk to you soon.